What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Kid Tosh. Another day, another NBA video. Before I get into this, I just want to say, as always, do not forget to leave a like. It helps with the grind process. Almost at 4K subs. I might have it tonight by the time this video is up. Who knows? Probably tomorrow, though. That's likely when I'm shooting for. And yeah, comment an idea down below. What kind of video do you want to see? What's your response to this video? Subscribe if you're new. Let's get into it. So, we spent a lot of time talking about the elite forces in the NBA. Obviously, the most interesting teams in the NBA are probably going to be the best. I'm sure you didn't expect an NBA channel to spend the majority of their time talking about the Miami Heat or the Sacramento Kings. No disrespect to the Sacramento Kings, they're actually doing decent. I probably should have said, something like the Dallas Mavericks or something like that. But anyway, we're going to be talking about contenders a lot of the time. And because we're almost halfway through the season, we're going to start focusing more and more on playoff time, on which teams are going to be, advancing rounds through rounds to the NBA Finals, Conference Finals, etc., etc. And we get power rankings. NBA.com and ESPN does power rankings each Monday, I believe. I see them and I check them out. And the Houston Rockets are second in one of the power rankings, and both power rankings drop the Warriors. And it's interesting because obviously the Warriors haven't been playing great, and power rankings aren't based off, I don't think they're based off at least, pure record or who is literally the best team on paper. They're really talking about who's playing the best basketball right now, and obviously Houston Rockets are playing some of the best basketball, not only of right now, but that they've ever played. And that's not like to throw shots at Hakeem Olajuwon or the 90s Rockets, and I know there used to be amazing teams of Houston Rockets. And I'm not saying this team's better than any Houston Rockets team ever. So what I'm saying is that this team has been so hot as of late that, a team that continues on this pace, they're on pace to win over 60 games this season. They're on pace to win about 63, 64 games. Keep that in mind. A team with, maybe not, I don't know. I kind of just threw that number out there because they're 30-9 right now. You figure that they've won more than 75% of their games, meaning that they are on pace to win at least 62 of their games, roughly. That's pretty amazing. That could be a 1 seed in a conference a few years ago. In a different year when you're not in the same conference as the Spurs and the Warriors, that could be a 1 seed. That could be a championship contender, and that should be a championship contender. If you've won 30 out of your 39 games, you deserve to be in that conversation, especially when the Rockets have been absolutely on a tear. They haven't lost in forever, and when they lost, last time they lost, before that, they were on like a 8 or 9 game win streak. So they've won, something like 17 out of the last 18 or some crazy thing like that. That's probably not right, but it's roughly, what it is. The Houston Rockets have been on fire, and not only have they done that, but they've beaten some of the league's elite while they were at it. They've beaten the Warriors, they've beaten the Raptors last night, a comeback victory on James Harden's 40-point triple-double. They've beaten the San Antonio Spurs. They've beaten basically every powerhouse team you could think of, except for the Cavs. I don't believe they've played the Cavs yet, but their 9 losses, they came pretty much earlier in the season, most of them. Through the last month or two, they have been the NBA's best team record-wise. And that's crazy because coming in, I remember I make the Eastern and Western Conference predictions, and I'm like, yo, the Houston Rockets are going to be like an 8 or 9 seed. 9 seed, I think, is where I put them. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? I think I put the Mavericks ahead of them. That sounds so stupid to you guys, probably, right? Well, I've made some great predictions. I made some terrible ones. It happens to the best of us, I did predict that James Harden moving to point guard would be good, though, for the team. That was actually before, I believe Mike D'Antoni was hired. Maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I didn't really believe in Mike D'Antoni, so it probably was after he was hired. But it was before, I know this, I'm sure of this. It was before James Harden was moved to the point guard position officially by Mike D'Antoni. And after he was moved, I did say that I thought that this was a good move for the team. I thought that they would play better. James Harden would play better. It would really reveal his total skill in terms of his playmaking ability. So basically, my idea was that you move James Harden to the point guard, good things happen for the team. You give him just even more opportunities to get guys looks, to get himself looks, to win games. And that's exactly what they've done. Honestly, James Harden has been leading his team as good as anyone this season. And when you look at the help that he has, there's no other guy like James Harden on his team. You look at the Cavs, LeBron's got some superpower help. He's got Kyrie Irving, he's got Kevin Love. Look at the Warriors. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, they have each other, not to mention Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. The Spurs, Kawhi Leonard is a fantastic player, but LaMarcus Aldridge is still better than any player on the Houston Rockets besides James Harden. It's true, he used to be a franchise guy in Portland, and it's not like he's gotten much older, okay? So basically what I'm pointing out, and I'm going to mention the Raptors, DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry definitely have each other. Out of the elite teams in the NBA, say the top 3 seeds, Isaiah Thomas has been doing his thing, but I think Al Horford is still better than any player on the Rockets, and maybe Avery Bradley or Jay Crowder. You look at all these teams, and maybe top 3 in each conference or top 4 in each conference. James Harden is the clear-cut leader, the clear-cut best player. There's no one besides James Harden on that team that's capable of leading a team, really. Maybe vocal leaders, but I'm talking about leading with your play, being a superstar player and putting up huge numbers and being all-star. There's no all-stars in this Rockets team behind James Harden, not even close. The only guy you can possibly make a case for, really, is Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon has been the least of a role player. Out of all the Houston Rockets, you look at their roster, Nene, he's a role player, Ariza's a role player, Beverly's a role player, Capella was a role player, and, Montrezl Harrell has been balling, but he's still a role player as of right now. Their bench are all role players, and Eric Gordon, he's like their guy that's going to score a ton of points off the bench and lead that bench unit and be just a sniper from 3. He's the closest guy on that team to not a role player. He's the closest guy on that team to a go-to guy, and obviously besides James Harden. Eric Gordon has been really good at that, and he's emerged as that kind of second guy, second scorer on this team, which is really good for the team. It's great for the team. In fact, it can even make this team a contender. Now, I think that a 30-9 team should automatically be a championship contender, usually. And we can't just say that. We can't just be like, oh, well, if you have this good of a record, then you must be a contender. Because the Raptors won 56 games last year, and I think we all knew they weren't going to win the NBA Finals. It wasn't going to happen. They didn't really have a shot at all. They struggled in their first 2 rounds, and when it came to the Cavs, the Cavs let a few games slip. Give the Raptors credit. They fought throughout the series in all the games, but the Cavs were kind of toying with them, and they won those first 2 games considerably. And then the last few, they won all the games they won by a solid margin. The Raptors don't have it. You see them in the regular season, and they'll play great, and they'll have stretches where they don't play all that great. But there's no chance they beat the Cavs this year. There wasn't a chance last year. The Cavs are in. If you think at it, the biggest threat to the Cavs, in my opinion, is the Boston Celtics. That's the only team that I think could give them, maybe take a game or 2 off them. But they're not beating the Cavs, I don't think. I think the Cavs are a lock for the finals. Sounds crazy to say, maybe to some people. Maybe to others, it's like, well, duh, the Cavs are making the finals. But the Western Conference is a little more complicated, with Golden State falling off a little bit. Okay, they still have the best record in the league. But they're not exactly, owning everybody and winning all the games they should win. They've lost a couple which they really shouldn't have. They've choked games they shouldn't have. They're still the best record in the league, obviously. That's going to hold true probably for the rest of the year unless they slip up even more and the Spurs catch them, because the Spurs are actually only like a game behind. But the Rockets are right behind the Spurs. Rockets are right behind the Warriors, basically, and the Rockets beat the Warriors. So the Rockets, they're for real, I think. However, I don't think they're a championship contender yet, and it's the simple fact that James Harden doesn't have another go-to guy / star player. Eric Gordon is great. He's been great, but I need to see him maintain this, and I don't think that those 2 guys can win a championship against the Cavs by themselves. They need a third guy. Someone needs to step up, and I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think this roster is built for it. I guess we're going to see. If James Harden wins a ring this year, I think we can say he's the best player in the NBA. I'm sorry, but it's just gonna have to be said, because James Harden doesn't have the same kind of help that LeBron has, or Steph has, or KD has. He doesn't have that kind of help. But if he gets to the finals, and if he wins the finals somehow, it seems crazy, and it shouldn't seem crazy. If you're a championship contender, it shouldn't seem crazy that you win a finals. I think the San Antonio Spurs are a championship contender. I could see them beating the Warriors in a series, and then beating LeBron and the Cavs. I could see that happening. So I think they're a contender. The Cavs, duh, they're a contender. They're my title favorite. The Warriors are still a contender no matter how many 24-point leads they choke or whatever. They're still the best team in the league by record, and we know how many weapons they have. They're the best team ever on paper, at least. So they're going to be a contender no matter what, unless someone goes down and gets injured. Same thing goes for the Cavs and Spurs. If it's LeBron or Kawhi Leonard or whoever. The Rockets are a question mark, and anyone below the Rockets I don't consider a contender. The Memphis Grizzlies are a contender to knock the Warriors off in the second round, but they're not a contender to win the whole thing because they're not going to beat a team like the Spurs or even the Rockets. Other teams in the West include the Clippers, who honestly were a contender to me, but they're too dysfunctional, too injury prone, and they don't take care of business like they should against the bad teams that they lose to sometimes. They're just not solid enough. So I'm going with Warriors, Spurs, and Cavs as my 3 title contenders right now. There needs to be more. NBA is just more fun when there's more title contenders. To me, the Rockets are right there. I mean, Eric Gordon, we're talking about like how much value this guy holds. I mean, what is he really worth? I think he's a great player. Score, he can do a lot on the offensive end, but yeah, this team has a few weaknesses, and James Harden is one of the best leaders in the NBA this season. He's been phenomenal. It's not about him. Their defense, it's a weakness. If they play the Warriors in round 2 or round 3, probably round 3, because I don't think the Rockets are going to fall to the 4 seed or something like that. I think that the Rockets could easily, or maybe the Spurs fall. I mean, Spurs go up to 1, the Warriors go down 2. The Rockets could easily fall victim to the Warriors' 3-point shooting. Their defense isn't great. The Warriors could just destroy them with that. I'm actually really surprised that the Rockets were able to take a W off them earlier this season. That's pretty crazy to me. But I think the Rockets could give the Warriors some trouble, but I don't think they could beat the Warriors in a series. I don't believe that. And the Spurs, that's another question. But the Rockets could beat anybody else. Here's something the Rockets have down that they do very well, is they beat the teams they should beat. That's a trait that all championship teams really need to have. If you can beat the teams you need to beat, you can be solid against bad teams, that's great. That's absolutely fantastic. That means you're not dysfunctional. It means you know what you're doing. It means that, that team is together. They have good chemistry, good leadership. The Rockets do have that. However, I just don't think they have enough star power. Harden is amazing, but by himself, I don't see it. Gordon is some help, but if your best help's Eric Gordon, you don't have a third guy, then it's just hard. A third go-to guy is much easier, and if you're not LeBron, it's hard to not have a third go-to guy. So that's going to be my thing for this video. However, the Houston Rockets are balling. I mean, they're honestly playing out of their minds right now. And it's a great thing to see this stuff continue. I'm surprised they haven't fallen off by now because they've maintained this crazy amount of consistency. And that's awesome to see as an NBA fan. That's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please like it up, subscribe, comment, whatever. I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all.